Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Hope you're doing well and having a fantastic day. Let's see what's on the bottom of the deck to start. Oh, whoa. I shuffled and I cut this deck about 11 times. But here we are with the Ten of Pentacles. That's a fantastic way to start, if I do say so myself. This is abundance in the material sense, legacy, generational wealth, multiple streams of income, harvest beyond measure, can't spend it in a lifetime type of vibration. Inheritance in a practical sense. What else can be said? Just generational wealth and stability and security is what I most associate with this card. But let's see where we go. All right. All right, that's work with the Eight of Pentacles. Working hard for something. That's two back from the 10 of Pentacles, which the difference between that is 2. So the disparity between struggling and juggling. Okay, perhaps that's what's been overcome for the 10 of Pentacles to be the lead card, that there's been some great work that's been invested in the practical sense and in the energetic sense. And maybe in some ways it was a struggle, and sometimes it was a juggle between time, resources, robbing Peter to pay Paul, staying focused. This is when you keep your head down and you're just working on something that more or less is spiritually insightful, is how I connect with the Eight of Pentacles. It's very practical work, actual work, but to me, it always registers as something that you would do for free. Hence the connection between the Two of Pentacles, where the man is literally juggling the coins. Maybe perhaps the investment didn't always measure the return, but because you were so committed and connected to whatever field of work this was, usually in this sense is something, as I said, that's attached to your spiritual calling or some type of fulfillment energetically that would incite you to continue to invest in it and to be dedicated and devoted to it. It's fulfilling in other ways, even if it's not materially fulfilling or secure in a sense. But it appears to me, especially with this card here, which is about recognition, success, victory, that now perhaps your hard work has paid off. In those moments when you didn't necessarily perhaps even know how ends were going to meet, but you still stayed dedicated to the task, devoted to the call, committed to your work, whatever it was. You saw the purpose of it and your purpose in it, and now you're having great victory and success, and also recognition, and also support from your peers, or even just public support in some way to whatever you're producing, whether it's artistic, whether it's material, whether it's energetic, a service, gifts, perhaps even. It could be so many different things when it comes to the Eight of Pentacles. But one thing for sure is that it's starting off very positively, given you have here the Six of Wands, which means you're being successful in whatever you're producing, and prosperous as well, is what this says to me, that even in the moments when perhaps before it may not have always panned out, maybe you invested more in the business than you had a return, which is normal, right? You started your own business and you had to spend money to make money, and you kept with it, you stuck with it through the highs and lows, and now you're having great success in what you're producing, or you're about to. And that success, coupled with your continued dedication, is what's ultimately going to lead to that Ten of Pentacles, which is the generational wealth. You now, this one this one thing that you stayed committed to now expanded into a dynasty, a legacy, something that could be left behind, or something that just exists beyond you or is impactful beyond you, and perhaps even serves a community, or creates jobs and opportunities for others to advance. So congratulations, that's a powerful way to start. And I can't help but see this here. Yep, the Ace of Cups. And the Emperor, wow, I see him peeking under the deck. And then Celebration, that's amazing. So yeah, you're your own boss, or that's what you're working on, and not only, and it's not, and with the Ace of Cups, to me, because consider being the boss, the CEO, the head of a company could come with a great deal of stress in some circumstances. But what this Ace of Cups is telling me is that it's not only materially fulfilling, but it's emotionally, spiritually, and energetically fulfilling. There's happiness, and there's an overflow of happiness that you're experiencing, even with all the responsibility, perhaps even new responsibility, new recognition, and expansion that you're receiving as well. So it's holistically fulfilling. That's awesome. And there was the Ten of Cups, good sign. Okay, we got the Queen of Swords, who is also, definitely a strong character in her own right in terms of direction and leadership. She's definitely one that knows how to make very strong, decisive choices. She can make power moves in decision making. She trusts herself to maybe even make tough decisions at times. And here I see the Two of Cups card. And then is this the Empress under here? Yes, it is. And the Empress. So that's, wow, this is interesting. Hold on, let me slow this down. All right, so we got this Queen of Swords, the Empress, and the Two of Cups. So her strong decision making is in partnerships. So she obviously in the King, I know the King of Swords is definitely a top tier executive in the company. I would say the same must be true for the Queen of Swords in a different respect, of course, in the feminine energy, which is in correlation and definitely confirmed here with the Empress card, the most supreme queen in the deck, the most powerful queen, just like the Emperor is the top king. All of them wrapped up in one. But it says that she's definitely highly intelligent and focused in the direction and in the carrying out of this vision. So she knows how to expand the vision, because the Empress is definitely infinitely creative. So she uses her intelligence and her wisdom to expand the vision beyond even what it started. So this is like diversifying the company, the products, the service, whatever it is. It's not diversifying. Is that the word I want to use? That's not really the word I was thinking of. It doesn't feel right, but it's like you expanding your product line. So maybe you started out just making soap, and now you make oils and body butters and candles, and it's like there's so many different facets now of the company that are being expanded into. That's definitely connected to the Ten of Pentacles, where it's just coin coming from everywhere. You know what I mean? It's not just one product, and this is like a production line in a sense, like an assembly line in a way. So it's like she knows how to be strategic in business. She knows how to make powerful business moves, maybe perhaps even in partnerships. Because she's wise, she knows exactly how to align her vision with others that can help enhance it or expand it, and definitely knows how to be mindful of, business collaborations or moves or commitments and contracts that would be that would hold back her progress, in some way, shape, or form, or hold back the expansion of the business. So she uses her wits and her logic, her the facts and the figures, her intuition, and her communication skills as well with the Queen of Swords. She knows how to close deals, pretty much, is the moral of the story. What's this right here? Wow, didn't I just say it's like the Ten of Cups energy? So we called that out. And what's this? Knight of Wands. Yeah, because this is like what the Knight of Wands is giving me is the energy of what she would be mindful of, being mindful of night vibrations, especially against the Queen energy of those that are just lustful to be in contact or connection with what she's building. She has to keep the sword up for those energies. It could be a positive opportunity, something that has promised to be something exciting and passionate and, a powerful connection of sorts. But, with being night energy, particularly the Knight of Wands, he can be a little bit impulsive and compulsive, just a little bit too unreliable in a sense when we're talking about Queen and Emperor and Empress and Emperor business. This might be a bit of an immature, I would say just maybe if this was considering to be a proposition of commitment, or in a professional sense, mind you, I'm talking, but also energetically too, or relationally too, when we got the Ten of Cups here. But if this was like an offer for collaboration per se, that's what I really mean to say. You would want to be thoughtful about how it really is going to positively impact your business, because to me, it would appear that a Knight of Wands offer with a Queen of Swords establishment might be a bit imbalanced. Like the Knight of Wands may have more to gain from a business arrangement such as that than the Queen of Swords would have. So it just wouldn't really be an equal reciprocation, and that you could take that personally or professionally. And in some regards, maybe there's room for that, especially if you're an established business where you've really laid the foundation for your professional footing, and you're making a great profit. As I said, the business is growing, you're diversifying, you're expanding, you're expanding into new markets, perhaps, all of that good stuff where there's growth definitely happening in real time and projected to be so, then perhaps you could take a risk on a Knight of Wands energy that might have more to gain from the connection or collaboration than you do, but perhaps it's something that could have potential in the future to grow, whereas to start, he might not have much to offer, but in the long run, perhaps with your investment in the energy such as this, it could grow the capital or grow the potential beyond, what was expected, or, in a way that is supremely satisfactory with the Ten of Cups here, in a way that could really make you happy in the long run. So I guess it's a matter of really being mindful about the long-term investments of your energy, one way or another, making strategic business moves. I would say until you're more established, being careful not to take any high risk, because this is a high risk investment right here, the Knight of Wands. He could be here today, gone tomorrow. So say a business that just got started, or just only has a year or two under their belt, whereas you've been doing this for 5+ years, you could take the risk on something that's a little more niche or trendy, or something that seems like it could really have the potential, but definitely with the wisdom to know that it could be at a loss to you, if it doesn't grow in the projected way that you anticipate, so it really does it really does incite whomever this is, you perhaps, hopefully, to really have your thinking cap on, you know, to be, and not to be emotionally or passionately swayed, because the other side of this, especially in an empress mode, is that you could be incited to want to nurture newer businesses because what? You've come from that small start, and you have a heart for those that just have a great mind, a great vision, and that maybe had to get it out the mud and have struggled and, you know, didn't really have the resources or the support. And now here they are with this grand idea, and it almost incites you to want to be motherly and nurturing to new creators or creators that have high potential. With all the love and best intentions in your heart, I guess the point of me saying this on and on and on is that you obviously are going to have quite a bit of resources to manage, you know, quite a bit of responsibility in this business, and great fortune and productivity and prosperity on your hands. So it's important to be just as keep strong boundaries in a professional and personal sense as you would have from the very beginning, you know, when it was small and just starting out, how you protected that and coveted it as like your own little baby in a sense. I guess the encouragement is to continue to keep that same energy, because although you might have more to share, in this day and time, one wrong business move, connecting with someone who's wet behind the ears, and you may not know all the ins and outs of the underworkings, you know, this is the lowest vibration, the underworkings of their establishment, you know, how they got their startup money, or what, you know, what shady characters might be connected, you know, silent partners, so to speak. And here you are connected to something that could tarnish your whole operation, something that you built to last forever, you know. So I guess the moral of this rant is, to whom much is given, much is required. And with great power comes great responsibility. So just continue to be mindful. It's okay to have strong boundaries and to be very direct and firm and almost rigid about your business practices, in a sense, when it comes to protecting, because that's what she's doing. She's protecting her foundation. You know, she's protecting where it all started so that it can continue to flourish into that 10 of Pentacles, which is ultimately her vision, you know, and these are the relationships that can help or hinder that. So be discerning, be mindful. And you know, they say there's no emotional impulse in business, which I don't know if that's holistically true, but one thing for sure, the Queen of Swords is not emotionally attached, not diabolically so, you know, not to her detriment, I should say. And maybe sometimes she's so detached that it is to her detriment in other ways, i.e. in intimate encounters and opportunities. But in business, I don't think that there's much you know, that can be said. And here it is with the Queen of Cups here, which signifies a balance anyway. But what I see behind is that 5 of Pentacles. So there still calls for a balance of emotionality to still allow those signs and signals intuitively to speak to you, you know, as to, you know, sometimes you get a nudge and you don't necessarily have the evidence for why you have it, i.e. for that Knight of Wands offer that comes to the table, and you like, you know what, you don't have it all together, but there's something that's telling me in another 2 to 3, maybe 5 years, you're going to blow up. You know what I mean? And it's like, you can feel it. You feel the energy. Of course, we know that's still taking a risk because there's no evidence to support it, but there is room to have the synergy of the two. And maybe perhaps the logistics of it all is to put an agreement or a contract in place that ultimately would protect you should things go awry, or should things not turn out as you projected. You know, literally, if there's some scarcity on the horizon and things don't go as projected. Look, the World card. This is awesome. I'm feeling this reading so far. It's like kind of like a finance reading, business, I guess money and business, but you know why? Because Venus is direct again in Leo. So it's like you can resume your regularly scheduled program of making money and making love and money moves, pretty much. So we got the Queen of Swords and the World card. So what's the World card giving us? It's like, okay, so it's like the World card definitely signifies the ending of some major project or a culmination of something big, and now a new beginning or a new cycle of something else. So it's perhaps the end of struggling in the cold, out in the cold. This is a step up from what I said was the disparity between the 10 and the 8, the 2 of Pentacles, where there was struggle. This is downright disparity, but with promise, in a sense, because at least there's some potential partnership here, but perhaps it's the end of this era where you're feeling like you're out in the cold, you're having to stretch every dollar. There's never enough to pay Peter or Paul sometimes. And also, this is the end of, that's what it really is. It's the end of spiritual despair. That's what it really, really is. It's not even as much, which ultimately does and can lead to material poverty or scarcity for sure. But this is about feeling like you can't trust your intuitive guidance, or that there's something lacking there. And I'm sensing that it's more so by way of projection, because the Queen of Cups is very certain, and especially connected to the Queen of Swords as it is. There's a certain groundedness about her that, although it's like beyond logic, is what I'm hearing, so maybe that's what this is, where you felt almost grounded by the limitations. Yes, okay, thank you, Spirit. By the limitations of world logic and world views, where only what you can see makes sense, what we've been projected to contribute to and to fuel and be committed to is only the most logistical, actual, factual expression of life in the world, as we can sensationalize it, see it, touch it, hear it, smell it, taste it, so on. There are senses beyond that, obviously, but we have been conditioned to shut those out, or be shut out by society itself, literally being out in the cold, on account of it being super sensationalized, like something fantastical, unrealistic, otherworldly, almost made to feel like you're an alien, or you're just, how can I say it, like just keeping you on the fray of society on account of the natural gifts and abilities. And really, as it is, shout out to the peace dealer who reminded me the other day that a lot of your so-called supernatural abilities are just regular abilities, but it's just the projection of the world that's told you that if you're you operate outside of what is logistical, sensational, then there's something extra worldly about you, or outer worldly. But in actuality, it's just regular. You hear and see in a certain type of way that's intangible and insensible, if that's the word I'm looking for. I'm sure you know what I mean, because that's just what you were divine to do. That was an original divine ordinance. When you came into the world is when things started to be limited, and look, like literally like a reef, an arena, a ring around this feminine entity here, where she's not supposed to really step outside of that circle in an old world perspective. In the forwarding perspective of this card, that's exactly what she's doing. She's stepping outside of it. If you see, she's got one foot and she's stepping out of the confines of the world, which ultimately is representative of society in its most stringent experience, that constrictive, limited, you can only do this or that, and if you do anything outside of this or that, you're strange, you're on the fray, you're, you know, in a positive sense, supernatural, you know, or angelic or godly or otherworldly, but in real time, it's just you being you, you know. So I'm getting at this is what's, you know, as I was talking about business and things like that, I feel like there's an opening for, because of the closing of that cycle, where people are starting to, if nothing else, embrace their freakiness. You know, if the rest of the world or their intimate world or the general universal reflection doesn't see it as such, people personally are starting to step out of these confines and accept themselves just as they are more and more every day, and caring less about the reception of that or acceptance of that or resistance to that, which it may be great. You know, it may still, as much as the world is evolving, there is still a great mass of others that want to still be in conformity or don't want to necessarily, they don't feel safe going against the grain, you know, which is understandable in its own right too, because there's great consequence socially and societally when you do step out of your comfort zone. You are often made to feel strange and weird, and you know, like you just don't fit in. And the fact is that you don't fit a mold, because your expression of spirit is unique all in its own, and it's not supposed to look like anybody else. None of us are supposed to look like the other. So I'm feeling like this expression here is the end. This cycle is like the ending, at least personally. So I would love to idealize, you know, a more universal aspect of this, where, you know, we can look forward to people, the masses in mass droves, people just stepping outside of the box and saying, this is, I'm gonna let my freak flag fly, no matter who's watching and no matter who, you know, in a good way. You know, for in the purest form and most productive way possible. Literally about working in the way of your divine calling, as this all started. You know, there's a certain lineage and bloodline that you are an ascendant of that you may or may not even know. You know, some ancestral energies that came before you and made great surrenders and sacrifices for you to even be able to fathom the possibility of living on the fray. You know, some people that didn't have or didn't feel like they had the choice to do that, and made choices to sustain their life force in a way that may have been unfavorable, just so that we could sit here and say that we actually are going to demand and command the right to live in liberty. That's what we are carrying the torch for. You know, that's the end of the cycle as it was, where it was only about what could be sensationalized and what was logical, what makes sense. And we've more or less taken the torch from our predecessors, known and unknown. And now look, she literally, wow, look at it. She literally has they're like scepters in her hand, but it's almost like taking the baton from your predecessors and your ancestors and saying, now I can carry on the dream so that it can be fulfilled in ways that perhaps was not possible before me, you know, or was not permittable in some way, shape, or form, or just chosen to be, you know, in other ways. So there's an end of spiritual poverty, scarcity, lack, feeling left out in the cold, feeling estranged from your spiritual self, feeling isolated from the acceptance of society, or feeling a need to be in acceptance with society, one or the other, you know, because there may still be an experience of isolation in a sense where you don't necessarily feel like you fit into the mold, but I feel like that's a good thing. You know, that's the good thing, but I think it's the mentality about it and the courage that fuels that mentality that is changing and shifting into something that's far more progressive and evolved than we've ever seen it before. So that these risks that were taken way back when. Very, very simple and plain. Like I said, perhaps you started a business. Maybe you quit a job, a 9 to 5, and started a business when it didn't necessarily even make sense to do so practically. But you stayed devoted, you stayed committed. You may have seen some ups, some downs, and you took some losses more than you gained some wins, and you had to rob Peter to pay Paul, and ends didn't always meet, but you stayed committed to your vision of being an entrepreneur, because that's what you felt excited to do. That's what you felt was best to invest your energy in. If you were going to invest it somewhere from 9 to 5, then you felt like you could at least do so for something that you love to do, where you felt a personal connection to. That's, as popular as it's becoming, they're still out of the conventionality of the world as we know it, where you're more or less conditioned to fuel the corporate market, to be a mule even for the corporate pillar of our society in one way, shape, or form. But you went against the fray, maybe the first of your kind to do so. Back to that inheritance card, back to this ideal of carrying the torch. Maybe you were the first, or maybe that has been done before, but it got lost in the shuffle somewhere in translation of being stable and securing a livelihood that was sound and safe. And the idea of any spiritual satisfaction or energetic satisfaction in your day-to-day life was lost. It was sacrificed ultimately for the sake of putting a roof over your head, certainly, and making sure your kids are fed. I'm never down in that, just to be clear. I'm never looking down on that. I'm never scrutinizing that ideal. I've been there, how could I? And I'm very thankful for the positions that I've had where I did have a job that I knew exactly what I was getting paid, and being paid very well, as a matter of fact, from week to week. I'm grateful for all of those experiences and stability and security and great benefits and on and on and on. There's still something to be said about submitting yourself to that experience of life beyond what is desirable. When your spirit is calling you into something else, but you refuse to answer that call on account of fear that you won't be able to stabilize yourself. Well, this is speaking to someone that didn't relent to that projection of fear, as many of us have, as many of us do in some way, shape, or form. That many of us have a spark in our heart to do something different than what we do every day, but it's a scary ideal to really pursue. Is one thing to contemplate, but it's another thing to do the work and pursue it full-fledged, to make that leap of faith, because money does make the world go round at this time, literally make the world go round. And if you don't have enough of it, it can be a tough experience. So there's nothing wrong with wanting to be stable and secure. That's what we do as human beings. But there's a certain reward that the universe has for those, I believe, that have been called to a different order and have answered it, even in spite of that fear, in the face of that fear, and have done so in honor, as the Queen of Swords does, in integrity, not, literally robbing Peter to pay Paul, but when you're focused on something and you're committed to doing it in integrity and in truth, not looking to infringe upon anyone else's progress or prosperity, or looking to snipe the system or hit a lick or anything like that. This is someone that does it honorably so, and takes the bumps and the bruises along the way, and lives to tell the success story. This is the turning of a new world order that's going to allow those success stories to be less happenstance, or less, more normal is what I'm trying to say ultimately. Like more popular, more of the normal everyday occurrence. I don't know if it'll ever completely be balanced over the top where there are more people that are working in spiritual solitude or sovereignty and following their calling and resisting, the conformities of society. I don't know if I'll live in this life to see the overturn completely, but I know that that's the balance that we're working toward for sure. And more people every day are answering that call from their spirit nature to do something more or different than they've ever done before. This is a reading that speaks to someone that has and either is now reaping the rewards of it materially so, or is about to reap in a big way, in a major way. Yeah, here's people looking and watching, and this could be people looking and watching on account of, it's hard for me to say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. There's people looking and watching on account of seeing you do something that may be a bit of an anomaly, or, that might be, like I said, it's people on the outside in that either don't necessarily aren't in agreement with this supernatural, fantastical way of life because they're more conventionalized and believe that, the life as it is good enough, at least for them. So why can't it be for you, in a sense, when in actuality clearly is not that great in the Five of Cups energy here. But it to me is people that are looking back, looking at you and looking back in regret. So you have that energy there where not everybody is necessarily going to be happy for your progress, personally, professionally, or otherwise, relationally, just you living life like it's golden, you being different, because the World card definitely speaks again about evolution, evolving in some way, shape, or form from what you may have been known to be into an expression of yourself that is just different. I don't even know how else to say it. It's just different than what is most familiar to those closest to you at times. And sometimes it can be a bit intimidating, is what I hear, to perceive someone that you knew all your life, or you felt you knew all your life, or knew them all their lives, and now they're just going a completely different direction. Sometimes people can start to look at themselves and their own accomplishments and decisions in the lower vibration and start to get down on themselves, and reflection to you, whom should be or could be an inspiration. Sometimes it incites a spirit in us of regret and shame or resentment, maybe even jealousy. So I guess I'm just saying that because you're undoubtedly growing in some great capacity. So just as that Queen of Swords is, maybe I should actually put this up here, as the Queen of Swords is one who maintains strong boundaries, it may be important to do so even from your most intimate quarters, because I spoke more about it being in a professional sense, primarily about who you align with. But, it'd be the closest ones to you, your family and friends sometimes, that have that intimate access to you that can ultimately throw you off balance, because you want to help everybody, you love everybody, you want to, sometimes you get stuck in wanting to even prove to those that are resistant to you in one way, shape, or form, like you're harmless, like, no, we're good, there's nothing to be jealous of, there's nothing to be. You may not say it, but sometimes in the spirit, trust me, I know there's this incitement to want to prove that there's nothing to fear here. There's nothing to resist. There's nothing to resent. I'm doing it. You can do it too. And here, I'll show you. Matter of fact, I'll help you. Matter of fact, I'll give you everything that I have so that you can do it too. There's that incitement in connection even to the Queen of Cups, who's very loving and nurturing and giving, that just wants to embrace all and everyone. that's the point of having the synergy of the two, because there's a time for that, there's a calling for that, there are assignments attached to you for exactly that thing. And there's also a time to have strong boundaries, firm, firm, pardon me, firm, a firm foundation, or a firm fortress, in a sense, is what I hear actually, from those that may not necessarily mean you well. And even if they are not directly looking, because this Page of Swords isn't always going to be aggressively offensive. You know, it may be somebody talking about you from a distance, you know, may gossiping about you, especially somebody that claims to know you and may feel on the outside looking in some way, when really they feel on the outside looking into their own lives. It really, how you can transmute it is knowing that it doesn't really have anything to do with you. So don't take it personally. It's just that spirit that rises up, you know, from the ego nature of us all, that wants to make you kind of go. Ultimately, it could lead you inward in the highest vibration to say, well, what would make me happy? What would turn my spirits around out of depression and out of despair and feeling down and dissatisfied, and see that I actually have 2 cups behind me? What can I do with my 2 cups that would give me satisfaction now? You know, that could be the transmutation that would happen if one is willing to allow it to be so. But as I said, everybody's not willing to step outside of this arena, so that everything's not a competition and chaotic and confusing, but that it's a way that you can actually be forwarding in your personal expression. You know, that's the invitation ultimately. But for those that don't RSVP to that spiritual invitation, you have to more or less keep someone working the door of your creativity. Always, you know, checking the list energetically, so as to who gets to come in and party with you, or sup with you, or create with you, and who just does not, you know. And unfortunately, sometimes those that are closest to us, who we want to help the most, aren't evolved enough energetically and their own self-awareness to truly be of value to what you're creating, or to be vulnerable enough to even receive what you're offering and multiply it, you know. So you could go off giving people everything you got, and if they're not willing to take, you know, those coins and then invest it in something productive for their own, you know, for their own forwarding, you know, their own progress, then you could just be emptying out the piggy bank until it runs dry, you know, just ultimately creating codependency in a sense, in a way that's not helpful for anybody, because those people don't gain the courage of stability and you know, the empowerment of independence that we all ultimately strive for, whether we realize it or not. We all want that, and deep in the depths of our heart, whether we know how to get it or not, or surrender to receive it. You don't help them, and you also don't help yourself, because you create a dependency that you may not even be able to keep up with in the long run, and it leaves everybody feeling despair and, you know, depressed and feeling dissatisfied with the ultimate outcome. So it kind of comes back to that that Knight of Wands energy. Again, family members, potential partnerships, creators, business investments, it's all wrapped up in the same energy. If it isn't mature enough based on your weighing of your logical self and your intuitive intelligence for something to sustain the investment that you're willing to make, you have to really put something in position to protect yourself, protect you as the benefactor, protect your investment, and to ultimately create some safety net of distance in one way, shape, or form, just in case, say, for instance, in the most primitive sense, you invest in a family member who has a vision for a business idea and it doesn't work out. How do you maintain that relationship or continue beyond that unfolding and still maintain your integrity as a proprietor? You have to put things into play and also know when to cut the faucet off, in a sense too, or figure out a way to support that family member in a way that business gets the expertise and the intel that it needs to truly thrive, at least survive, beyond just, okay, well, that didn't work. Well, here's a couple 100,000 more. Let's do this, or I got another one, It's really calling for discernment right now. I don't know why this message is so heavy, but I do, but I don't. I'm just kind of surprised by how it's coming forth. But, everybody that's looking from the outside in isn't necessarily looking to be in attack mode or to be a distraction or a detriment to your progress. But just know that you being in the position that you either are in or being elevated to, you're definitely a prime focus for those that will need help. That Five of Pentacles is also that, those that literally need help or need support and assistance in some way, shape, or form. And it's only going to be up to you. You could want to help the entire world, but it wouldn't necessarily be in your best interest, and sometimes not even in the best interest of the beneficiary to do so. So practice discernment. You can be logical and empathetic and sympathetic at the same time. I believe, at least that's how I hope to maintain my business practices. Probably more definitely heavy-handed on the logistics, because I know myself and I have a tendency to give beyond measure, beyond reason sometimes. So my training more so is to be more rigid than I would naturally be, because I know my come from. But some people don't necessarily have that issue, so maybe you actually need to be a little bit more open and generous as well. There's a call for that as well, because as I said, to whom much is given, much is required. So only you can know the balance, because you can be a miser and not help. God's blessed you with a great fortune and great opportunities, and you want to keep it all to yourself. And the very same is true for that experience as well. You could find yourself losing it all and being right back where you started, if not worse, if you're not graceful and gracious with the gifts that are given to you. So it works both ways, I suppose. So we got the Emperor, the Three of Cups, and then here we go with this guy. So I stand corrected. Yes, no, not not corrected holistically, but remember I said everybody that's in this Page of Swords energy isn't necessarily up to no good. Well, here's the Five of Swords, which definitely is someone up to no good. That is jealous, that is looking to win at all costs, that's, ultimately this energy defeats itself, even if it feels like it's defeating anything outside of itself, because that's just the universal order of things, that if you're looking to do something shady or be shady, ultimately you find yourself on the side of shady, on the wrong side of shady, as a matter of fact. So definitely another caution to be mindful of your surroundings, people, places, and things, but just knowing that you don't have to be overly paranoid is what I'm saying, is what I'm sensing. There's a difference here. There's protection, there's paranoia, and there's a fine line between the two, where you feel like everybody's out to get you and everybody just wants you for your money and everybody is, looking to just come up or get clout or coin off of you, and you can't trust anyone because everybody's shady. And that's just no way, that's not a prosperous way of living life, especially when you've been blessed with a lot. even if you did find yourself, or at least felt like you found yourself doing it all on your own and without any help. That's almost never true. Even in the angelic sense, there's been something or someone leading you on the path of prosperity. But if you have a lot more evidence in your life for the opposite of that, more opposition and oppression than celebration and support, it still is a matter of shifting your perspective as to how even that has helped you along your path. All about transmutation when we're talking about energy, lest you become a victim of your own mentality, and you fall to the way you literally fall short to yourself, by fall on your own sword, ultimately, mentally, literally your own sword. So the Five of Swords here, I guess, in that regard, is a mixture of the two, where you have to be cautious not to outsmart yourself and defeat yourself mentally, cut off your nose to spite your face, whereas there are opportunities for you to advance by way of co-collaboration and connection, or just receiving help and support. Like I said, you may have been used to doing it all on your own, and now is the time in your journey where you need support. You need employees, you need an assistant, you need, outside vendors or resources. You can't literally wear all the hats yourself. It calls for you to be open to, this is collaboration too, this is amazing. And with the Emperor card, this is awesome. Thank you, Spirit, because I wasn't even really connected to these cards as much as this Five of Swords just kind of threw me off. But yeah, this is the expression of wanting to be in control of everything in the Emperor card. You want to literally micromanage every little detail. You can't trust anybody but yourself to do it. If you want something done right, you do it yourself type of mentality. And in many ways, with the Magician here as well, in many ways that can be true, or maybe perhaps even has been true up until this point. But like I said, Venus is going direct now. We had a time of more or less observing our relationships and not observing too, but more so like taking inventory of our relationships in professional sense and an intimate sense and personal sense, and how they work for us, how we work within them, how the collaborations are created and what they do create. We've had that time while Venus was in retro and Leo. Now Venus is direct, and it's an opportunity to open up and be a little social again. Soon we'll be out of Virgo season and into Libra, which will even enhance that calling even more, that invitation even more to socialize, to be in communion, to be in connection, creatively so, to create beauty with other creators, other artists per se, to make something beautiful out of whatever it is that you're manifesting together, literally with the Magician card here. This is an expression of that, where, looking back at old world energy as with here, you did do it all, but now there are others that you can absolutely trust by way of trusting yourself to be discerning, mind you, to help you expand the vision, to grow the force, make a bigger impact, a bigger impression. The vision, there's no way you can create a dynasty. One man can create a dynasty all on his own. There's no way. Not one CEO in this world has ever been able to accomplish it and grow it to the capacity that it is now by doing it all on his or her own. You need connection, you need support, you need collaboration, and the consideration of other ideas, that something that you didn't think of that might add value to what you know and what you have to offer is what the calling is for us to enhance the conscious creativity universally, as a matter of fact, not even just limited to our own little lives, but that's where it starts. Universally, we're all being called to align on one accord of, divine minds and like beings that are looking to create in the way of prosperity and productivity, to add value into the world. We all need each other all across the world. We need one another. We should and can rely on the creativity of others beyond ourselves to add value to what we're creating and to expand it beyond our imagination, because there's a vision that exists beyond what it originally was. Even for the guy, like I said, that started out making, what I say he was making, soap, you know, maybe he always had an idea for it to end up being a whole bath and body business, who knows. But one thing's for sure, he couldn't have just made, sustained himself just making soap on his own and grown a Ten of Pentacles dynasty by his own hands. He would have worked himself to the bone by now. So it takes a village, perhaps a universe, to be on one accord to ultimately transcend and ascend us all to some greater heights of creativity, to evolve our creativity and evolve creation overall, right? So no matter what presents itself to be an objective force against you, to you, around you, you're protected. Let's start with that there. First of all, you wield the sword of truth. So as long as you're in integrity, that's the primary point of protection, is being in integrity and upright with yourself and whatever divine source, even if it is just yourself. When you're checking in and you're in integrity with what self is telling you to do, that's a point of protection for you. Now when you start to feel like you're not protected and you're getting hit left and right, then that's an opportunity to check in with self and maybe consider raising that vibration to a higher source or so. But ultimately, whomever and whatever you submit to and are in alignment with is what you're in protection of or in protection by. You are in control. You are sovereign in your estate, your creativity. Yes, you are a whole and complete package all on your own with the power to bring to life literally anything you set your mind to. And engaging that creativity with others is only going to expand those horizons, literally to break the walls, so that there's no limitation ultimately on what you can create. Again, trusting yourself to be discerning about who and what, where and why and how to invest that energy or co-create, collectively. So we got the Magician here. I see this under here, this balance with the Temperance card. Any burdens that are not yours, lay them down. That energy that you want to carry, that, like I said, carrying other people energies on your back. You want to help the whole hood, help the whole family. You have to do what you're assigned to do. If you are focused on your assignment and your calling, the rest actually takes care of itself. You may find that just being an example of a prosperous businesswoman, that makes wise money decisions is what exactly changes an entire legacy, just as I said with the Ten of Pentacles and the Ten of Cups. You may change the course of your bloodline and open doors for future generations just on account of focusing on what's been divine for you to do, as opposed to trying to do everything for everybody. So everything within balance, divine alignment, and reason. And what's this? Yeah, because there's this energy here, of course, that's, like I said, will always try to look to get over, but you're being supported by realms that are beyond tangible. What you don't see in terms of what might be against you, or an obstructive force, or literally looking to steal, kill, or destroy your manifestations in one way, shape, or form, is seen by realm. What you don't see is being seen beyond you, and you have protection thereof. And the discernment that you are engaging with are these energies navigating your path from the inside out. So that's those signs and signals that you get, those nudges in the spirit, that still small voice that says, "No, don't take that investment," or "No, don't make that contract," "No, don't collaborate with that person," or "No, this deal don't feel right," or "No, this ain't the right time for that," or "I'm not ready for that connection." Or the adverse, of course, and the highest projection of, "Yes, this is the way." But speaking of this energy here, the Seven of Swords, where we know he don't mean nobody no good. He thinks he's going to get away with stealing something, but ultimately, just as the Five of Swords, it destroys itself one way or another. Even if it might have stole a couple swords from you, it's going to catch a couple swords on the other end. And it may not have nothing to do with you, but it's just the vibration of that energy that whatever you release is what's going to return. So as long as you're staying, again, in alignment with your highest self, this is that energy here, this masterful energy that is speaking to you from beyond you, but also through you in a sense as well, because the intel can only be processed through your being. So even if it's signs and signals in your waking life, or like I said, a nudge, a feeling, back to that Queen of Cups, where you just don't feel good about something or it doesn't feel right, that's a sign and signal. Internal navigation, where you get a word of wisdom from a friend that it wasn't even in alignment with what you're considering, but you know there's a connection from one message to another. You could see a message on a movie that you're watching casually, and the moral of the story could speak to you about your current life situation. The universe is always talking to us and through us if we're willing to tune in and listen. This is that energy here, that there's always guidance beyond you when you're in surrender and submission to your highest self and your highest intention, moving in your highest integrity. The channels are always quite clear, even though it might be soft, it might be a whisper. You'll be sure to hear. It's just a matter of you actually listening, receiving the intel, and then acting accordingly. So have no fear is ultimately what I'm saying, that you can stay secure in your position of power and authority over your life, knowing that you can't control anyone else's. You can only control what you proactively do, and of course what you respond and react to. But anything else, you can't control someone that's looking to steal, kill, and destroy. And you shouldn't even try to. Let the universe take care of that. You can't control family or friends that don't understand why you do what you do, but somehow want a piece of it too. Bars. You can't control that. But what you can control is whether or not, or what of it all you extend to be of service, to be of support. You can only control your own proaction, reaction, and responses. And as long as you keep that in mind and keep that integrity, stay in divine alignment, there's really nothing outside of you that you truly have to fear. There really, really isn't. Just stay connected, All right, so last thing, let's turn over the back. Wow. And we got the 10 of Pentacles. And that is the end of self-sabotage. You perhaps even sabotaging your own manifestations by way of some of the energies that we spoke about today, by doing the opposite even of what I just ranted about, wanting to control everything outside of you but you, wanted to make sure that, or perhaps even wanted to, actively resist the resistance. Waste of energy. You only tire yourself out in the long run, trying to compete with the competition, competing where there's no comparison, ultimately, is what I hear. That will only, the ending is coming surely and naturally, organically, to those that are in this energy in the first place. This is ultimately the end result for those that are looking outside of themselves to be entertained or engaged otherwise, because this is someone in the most trivial sense that's just not minding his own damn business, worrying about everybody's business but his own, and he will come to his own demise. He will self-sabotage himself. 5 of Swords will definitely sabotage himself, thinking that he can win no matter what the cost, no matter what the casualty. And 7 of Swords, looking to lie, chill, steal, kill, destroy, is going to absolutely meet his demise, his or her demise. So all you have to do is keep being you, keep manifesting in integrity, keep using all the resources that have been divinely given to you, as you've already been doing that. When you had, say, two of Pentacles, you were able to multiply it to an 8. Imagine when you have all the resources at your disposal in the position of the magician, who literally does have all the resources, then some extra with the scepter, and has the backings in the highest vibration of celestial force with the infinity sign, meaning that you got a little something supernatural attached to you and supporting you, just by way of you being intentional to be an alchemist, and that could be in spirit and in truth, literally to take the energy of everything that you've experienced in life and make something productive of it. That's supported by the heavenly realms. That's supported universally. That's something that any productive entity or force can get behind, because there's value in that investment. You are the valued investment, as a matter of fact. You're the hot commodity. So anything else that you allow to be a projection of reality for you against that is self-defeating. It's self-sabotage, and it's just the opposite perspective of where you're clearly headed naturally, just by continuing to keep your head down and do the work that's calling you. Nothing more, nothing less. All right. So that's it. I think that was a very powerful message. I'm here for it, and I receive it 100%, even with that Ten of Swords, because if you receive what I'm saying, then you know, and if you know, you know. There is no weapon formed against you that can prosper unless you allow it to do so, okay? You're the magician, and you have the world at your fingertips. The world is your resource. It is your commodity, and you literally are unlimited in the possibilities that you can create, from that Two of Pentacles all the way up to the 10, and even up into supreme spiritual fulfillment in that 10 of Cups, that is not just a material harvest of satisfaction and stability and security, but it's actually spiritually satisfying, meaning you could lose every penny in your account, but your soul is still whole and intact. And it don't get no more wealthy than that right there. All right. So that's it for now. Until next time, I'll leave you with peace.